Bible. Pull apart, you know. I don't know if I'm picking it this way. There we go. That's those little gold parts still stuck together. Been there before. All right. Unlike the heroes of the Bible, we're going to be dealing with Miriam, and you'll note, that's a familiar name. You know, where does that come from? Well, we got to go back and get the Jewish history stuff going. Abraham had two sons, Ishmael, back when you had stamps list, Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac had two sons, Esau and Jacob. Okay? Jacob had 12 sons, one of whom was named Joseph. We also know Jacob as Israel later. But he had 12 sons, one of which was named Joseph, and he was bound into Egypt, and it's going to be over 400 years there. Now, when poor Joseph is sold off by his brothers to a bunch of traders and stuff, going down to the Nile Delta here, you're going to have literally construction going down all the way up the Nile. But primarily they're going to be down here in the Delta area. The Jews are going to end up down here, Goshen, down in this area. But he is taken down here. Poor Joseph, young guy, he's taken in. First thing, he's just stuck in and literally sold off as a slave. Goes into a household, and he gets picked up by Potiphar, which turns out to be one of the leading governmental leaders within the country of Egypt at that time. And what his job was incarcerate people. That's what he was in prison. And two types or two styles of prisons. One was an elitist style of prison, Club Med prison, and then there was real prison, dungeon type prison too. And so he put Joseph in his household. Joseph starts learning the language, learning how to do household stuff, until the point that he is literally controlling all of Potiphar's private dealings, period. And you know the story and stuff, Potiphar's wife, literally everything is under Joseph. Potiphar just goes, does his regular work and stuff. He doesn't worry about house at all. And Potiphar's wife tries to take advantage. Here's a kid who's away from everybody and thinking that his family has sold him away and has the integrity of saying, no, even though no one in this country knows me or I have no reputation to lose, I still know God knows what I do. And that matters. And I'll do right just because it's right to do before God, because God sees when no one else does. And God knows when no one else does. And he has the integrity to stand up for what is right, period. Well, that integrity gets him thrown into prison because Potiphar, that's his job. Okay? I love it. He's thrown into the Club Med prison, though. It's kind of fun. It's the elite prison. So probably Mr. Potiphar knows Mrs. Potiphar better than we think. And he goes, I don't know if it's this kid's problem or Mrs. Potiphar, but I've got to do what I got to do. So I'll put him in Club Med over here where I can keep an eye on him. Well, before long, he's controlling the prison. And he's worked his way up to there to the point that he's talking with the inmates. He can go back and forth. He can literally, he's controlling the prison for Potiphar. So Potiphar knows this kid's probably innocent and all this, but I got to stick him here for everybody's sake. In the process of time, you know the story. Through his gifts, Joseph becomes so good at not just what he does, but he's taken as a kid. He learns language, he learns how to do all the governmental stuff, he learns mathematics, he learns all the things that would come to administrate something. And then through his gifts, he literally is promoted up to vice pharaoh. From literally the prison to the palace. And controls all of Egypt. Saves them from disaster and a famine and makes them filthy rich in the process. That works out really well. In fact, he moves the whole family down. During a famine, he pulls the whole family down. The Jews start a colony. And that's how nice, I love the Delta region within the Nile. It's green from space. That's pretty good. When your lawn looks good from space, you got a good lawn, okay? When it's green from up this high, you're in great shape. When NASA says you've got a green lawn, you've got a really good lawn, boy, okay? And it is still that way in the Delta area. You can still grow biggest cabbages and leeks and whatever else there that you want. Brings down the Jews. They not only get there, they thrive there. They're multiplying their crops, their cattle, they're just going nuts down there. In the process of time, Joseph dies. In the process of time, the Pharaoh, who knows Joseph, dies. And then pharaohs start coming and going. It gets down to the point that you have a Pharaoh who knows not Joseph. He just knows there's a ton of foreigners in my country, and I'm scared. If they decide to just take over, this is going to become Israel. This isn't going to be Egypt anymore. We also have another problem here. We're trying to build some stuff, and it'd be really good to have a really good non-overhead labor source. Why don't we just enslave them? And they did. Put huge taskmasters over them, and the Jews become slaves for 400 years. They're actually there a total of 430 years total. 300 and some total slaves. That means everyone that you can remember in your heritage, your great-grandfather, your great-great-grandfather, they're slaves all the way back. That's all that they can remember, period. Now you're going to have a lull in time. Does God hear our prayers? Does he even know what's happening there? Ready? We drop into Exodus chapter 2. There's a man in the house of Levi, went and took on his wife, a daughter of Levi, priestly tribe. So you got two pedigreed people, okay? You will come to know them as Amram and Jochebed. Amram and Jochebed, just simple Jewish family all the way around, nice husband and wife type of thing. They conceived and bore a son. Now it's going to be the third son, or the third child. They have an older daughter, which is probably 10 to 12, somewhere in there. And then they're going to have also an older son, which is about 3 years old at this time. And then they're going to have, and when she bore him, he was a beautiful child. And she hid him for 3 months. Now, why is she hiding? That is because the Jews, even though they were slaves, the Pharaoh got madder and madder, because the more he would persecute them and be mean to them, the more they multiplied, the better they did. It was like, it's like grease fire, for more water. It just spreads it everywhere. Well, that's the same way that you're getting Jews everywhere, Jew. And finally, the ultimate solution is, you hear Nazis coming out all over the place. He just plain said, all you Jewish midwives, here's the answer. Females, great, we can do with them. Any male children, I want you to take them as soon as they're born and you throw them in the Nile for crocodiles. That's it. We're going to start just absolutely cutting them down for a little while. We're going to cut off this. We're multiplying too much here. The Jewish midwives wouldn't do it. I love their excuse. They said, well, the Jewish ladies are just too hardy, as they would say, when they get on the birthing stools. I love that. I was reading that in Hebrew this week. It means when they get on the 2 stones. You think you have hard labor. They just set the lady on 2 stones. They drop it. It's like, oh, heavens. You just cringe. That's exactly the idea. Well, when we get there, they've already delivered. We can't do a thing about it. It's out of our hands after that. Well, they're not telling the truth. They would say, we're not going to throw our babies in the Nile. Good night. But that was what the edict for the government was. So they had their baby, we'll know him as Moses later. They hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she took an ark we've just gotten through talking about Noah for the past 4 weeks, an ark basket with bulrushes, dabbed it with asphalt and pitch, make it waterproof, and put the child in it and laid it in the reeds of the riverbank. And the sister, his sister, we'll know her as Miriam in just a little bit. There's our hero for today. Stood afar off to know what was going to be done to him. You ready? Great picture. At 10, 12 years old, she's going to show herself not only as a good salesman, good throughout, so to speak, but a very faithful and very good articulate young lady, period. All right, you ready? It's not dumb luck, smart luck. Here we go. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe. Now, don't think that they just stuck him in anywhere in the Nile. Now, realize, too, that they are doing the government's bidding. Think of it. Throw the baby in the Nile. Well, they put him in the Nile. It's like working with the IRS. And technically, he's in the river, okay? There he is. Now, you don't say that I'll put him in a floating boat or anything. Well, that's beside the point. He's in the river, isn't he? But he's strategically placed where this princess comes down every day to bathe at a certain time, and he just happens to be there at that certain time. It's like, oh, you're dumb like a fox. Here we go. All right, and the maidens walked along, and they saw the ark floating in the reeds, and they sent her maid to get it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and the child wept. Now, he probably was weeping beforehand, because, you know, what's a kid doing in a basket floating around anyway? It's just scary all the way around. And so she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Okay? Now, the fun part about that, look, here we go. Let's go this way. Fun part about that is this, is that, well, you've got to get deep down into history and realize that the Egyptians had daily rituals, especially the elites. And one of those was that they would go to the temple and they'd pray. And one of their gods that they pray for is a god that would have to do with the Nile, not the Nile god itself, but with the Nile. And they start praying prayers, and there were 2 or 3 that they were going to do. The last 2 of which was that I am not going to hurt any man, period. And the last one was, I will not withdraw milk from an infant. In other words, I will promote the very young. Every day they pray that kind of prayer. That's in the back of her head. Now here she's faced with it in real life. I've got a crying infant bobbing right in front of me. Do I withhold milk from this infant? Uh-oh. God can use even the heathen. Okay? He can use whatever he wants to use. Ready? And his sister, our hero, Miriam, shows up, right on cue, and says, shall I go call a nurse, well, in Hebrew, nurse, for you, from the Hebrew, that she might nurse a child for you. Oh, I love it. Such a deal, because you know who she's going to go get. Mom, I'm going to get my own mom. And she says, go. And so the maiden went and got her mother, and she says, here, take this child away and nurse him for me, and I'll give you wages. Such a deal. Okay, you can just see the Hebrews tell this story. Not only does Moses get raised, they get paid to raise him. You know, not only does he not get thrown in the Nile, he gets put in the Nile. Oh, everything works out perfect. It's a great story all the way. Miriam is, all what you realize, is Moses' older sister. The one who stood there and watched and was able to go negotiate everything, get it all, you know. That's pretty good for a 10, 12-year-old. Pull off a deal like that. I mean, that's to close the deal, everything. Pretty good. And so the woman took the child and nursed him, and the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son, adopted him, and his name was called Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Now, when you got, and if you do the Hebrew, it's Moshe, if you want to, okay? Now, what you understand is now there's going to be some history. 40 years worth, 40 years of history, Moses starts being raised up in the Egyptian elite culture. That means best mathematics in the world, best universities in the world at that time, best architectural engineers in the world at that time. best libraries in Alexandria, in that area, in the world at that time. It was a metropolis, and he's right in the thick of it, being groomed right along with the new up-and-coming pharaohettes, so to speak, the new pharaohs coming on. He's right with them as an adopted brother right in. So much that the pharaohs are looking at it going, I'm getting worried. This guy is not good. He's too good. And so at 40 years old, there's a win-win situation for Pharaoh. Egypt gets invaded from the south with Ethiopia. Ethiopia used to be a huge area, not just the Horn of Africa, but it was literally a huge area. Came up, literally coming up the river valley, all the way up into Egypt, and would have probably taken all of Egypt. Because Moses has the training, they send him down with the army. It's a win-win. He gets killed, oh great, now all my sons get free, get to be Pharaoh without any kind of competition. If he wins, great, I get rid of the Ethiopians. It works out both ways for me. Moses turns out to be a great tactical general. He brings his troops down, fakes them out right here, brings a huge mass of troops, goes across the Nile, and comes and attacks them from their side through a swamp. They never expect to be attacked, flanked out through a swamp. No one expects that anywhere. And he does. Splits them up, splits half the Ethiopian army up here, which they just mop up completely, and then drive the rest way past Ethiopia going south. Huge victory. Great things for Moses. Whoa, he's doing great stuff all the way around. Ready? Now it came to pass when Moses was grown, he went out to his brethren and looked at his burdens. Now he looked at his friends, who were his relations, so to speak, Jews, and they're in slavery, hard slavery, building treasure cities, of all things, for the Egyptians. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, and he looked this way and that. If you look this way and that, you're probably doing an activity you shouldn't be doing. That's your first clue. If you look like, who's looking? That's your first clue. You shouldn't be doing whatever activity you're doing. If you happen to be looking left or right, see if someone's seeing you do it, you shouldn't probably be doing it. That's your first clue. Okay? So you do a little self-check there. Okay? Here we go. And when he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian. Why? Because he's a general. He knows how to do that kind of stuff. Okay? And hid him in the sand. That's how you know he really wasn't planning on doing it. No one does that because sand moves around in Egypt like water does here. It's like that's not a really good place to hide anything because what's a hill today is now a pit tomorrow. It's just the way it is. So he hid him in the sand. Well, you can imagine what happened. Here it comes. And he went out the second day, and behold, two Hebrews were fighting each other. He says, why are you striking your own companion? And he says, well, who made you prince and judge over us? You intended on killing me like you did the Egyptian? Uh-oh, uh-oh. People talk. And boy, the cousins are buzzing. There they go. And so Moses feared, which he should have, and surely this thing is known. And when the Pharaoh heard of this matter, he sought to kill Moses. Well, sure, you're a hero now. You're even more worrisome than you were in times past. I've looked for any handle to get a hold of you, and now I got it, and it's on your throat. It's not just a really good handle, it's a great handle, and I can come after you now. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian and sat down at a well. Now he's going to take off and he's going to go across. He's not going to follow this. He's going to go clear across as fast as he can. There's a trade route that goes clear across. This is the land of Midian over here. When you see the Red Sea, it comes up and does bunny ears right here. This is the Gulf of Suez. This is the Gulf of Aqaba right here. He's going to come across, go around, and down into here and sits down by a well. Well, you know the story. He gets at that well, and he's going to meet his future wife, Zipporah, there. And he's going to go home to his future father-in-law, Jethro. He's going to be literally incorporated into their family, and for 40 years, 40 years, he is going to raise up his father-in-law's sheep. Wow. This is a man dressed for success, vice Pharaoh type, okay? Right in line, conquering general, out with the woolies, day after day after day for 40 years. It's easy to say 40 years. It's tough to live 40 years with a bunch of stinky woolies, especially when you were high powered. It takes you about probably 20 years to lose that. And then 10, 12 years, 20 years, they'd say, okay, God, what now? Oh, man. Moses, at 80 years old, has moved his sheep around clear down here. Got to find grass, and it's hard to find. He's beside a huge mountain. We'll come to know it as Jebel Musa, the mountain of Moses, Mount Sinai. He's clear down there, and he sees a bush burning on the side of the mountain. The bush is burning. There's bushes that have been burned before. It's fine. It catches fire. Tumbleweeds kind of catch fire. This one burns, but it doesn't burn up. It just keeps burning. And burning. And burning. Stops. I'm going to take a look. Goes up. The bush talks. And this is a hot day or on something big. Moses, take your shoes off. You're on the holy ground. I'm commissioning you. I want you to go back and bring my children Israel out of Egypt. No, I'm a failure. 40 years ago, that was a long time ago, God. He says, no, that's exactly what I want. I want you at 80 years old because I need the tactician. I need a general that can move millions of people across the desert and know how to do that. But I need him to move like a shepherd moves sheep, not a general orders people. And it's taken 40 years to untrain and retrain you to take that logistical genius that you have and put it into a shepherd's heart. And it's taken 80 years to make you exactly what I want. You ever wonder why you are where you are and who you are, where you are? Because God is taking you and is moving you for what He can work with. And He's training you along the way. He says, okay, I'll go back. I can't speak very well, but I'll go back. And He said, I'll send your brother, Aaron. Okay? You'll go back. Meanwhile, during those 40 years, back on the ranch, so to speak, Miriam has married. We get this from the historian Josephus. She married a guy by the name of Hur. Now, H-U-R, because if it's other Hur, we've got a whole other issue and bathrooms and all kinds of stuff, and we're not going to get into that. Okay? Here it comes. It's H-U-R. Real famous guy. Where we get him is that his child that is going to come up with, her grandchild, is going to be the architect of the tabernacle. It's really fun. It's like, whoa, this woman is, she's in everything. She's everywhere. Okay? So Miriam is back there waiting. She hears her brother say, I've got to go out in the desert. Moses is calling for me. He's coming back. 40 years worth. 40 years. So here it comes. Ready? And now Moses was 80 years old. Aaron was 83 years old. And that puts Miriam at 90-something during this time. Ready? He goes in to talk to Pharaoh. Moses goes in with him. Let my people go, God says. No way, Moses. I'm not going to let my slave go. 10 plagues. 9 of which didn't work. Number 10 does. Death of the firstborn. Pharaoh says, get out. Here's some lovely parting gifts. Don Pardo, tell them what they want. Get out of Egypt. And they do go. They start to leave Egypt. They get all the way down to the Red Sea. And then, you know the story, Pharaoh changes his mind. I want them back. So he starts chasing them down there. And then you've got Charlton Heston standing there. Behold the mighty hand of God. Okay, there we go. They cross the Red Sea. And then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hands over the sea that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians. Okay, now they're going to go across. The Egyptians are going to try to follow him. And Moses stretched out his hands across the sea. In the morning, when the morning appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, and the Egyptians were fleeing into it, and the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. The waters returned, and they covered the chariots and the horsemen and the armies of Pharaoh in the sea after them, and not so much as one of them remained. And the children of Israel had walked on dry land, harabah in Hebrew. It doesn't mean dry like powder dirt. It means mud, but it's certainly not water. It's blown out, so to speak. So you got water on both sides, harabah, walking on dirt, so to speak, as you go around right through the midst of it. Walls of water on their left and right. And so the Lord saved Israel that day from the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw that the Egyptians were dead on the seashore. Thus, Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. In other words, they go through the middle of the sea. Got really good HD right here. Oh, good. That's coming across better. There we go. And ends up, water falls back when they get on the other side. The Egyptian army is gone. Period. Men's chorus. Exodus chapter 15. Then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to the Lord, and says, I will sing the Lord for his triumph gloriously, the horse and rider who's thrown into the sea. Then our hero. This is the high point of her life, right here. 90-some years old, here she is. I mean, just at the top of her game. She's got literally two brothers that are right in the thick of this thing, Moses and Aaron right up front. She's right in the middle of it all, and she gets all the ladies together, and they do the antiphonal thing and start singing back to the men. And she, Miriam the prophetess. I love that. You realize there's only 9 women in the entire scripture that have that title, prophetess. Okay? You got Deborah, you got Anna in the New Testament, you got Huldah is the best that I can pronounce that thing in Hebrew. Let's see, Isaiah's wife was one, and then there was 4 daughters, I think of James or something, in the New Testament. There's only 9 of them in all of Scripture, period. Miriam's one of those. In other words, God is relating to her in dreams, visions, and stuff like that directly. The sister of Aaron puts her in perspective. You know, the Jews have to do that. Okay, who's who? Okay, took a tambourine we would call it, okay, in her hand, and with all the women went out, and she answered them, said, sing the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously, the horse and rider he's thrown into the sea. This is the high point of her life, right here. The we. We're all together in this thing. We are together. In the 1850s, a German guy painted this one. This is what you're going to see. Anytime you see Miriam anywhere, you're going to see this painting. This is the big one with her tambourine out and all that kind of stuff. Now, they cross over. Now, this is the traditional one. Here we go. Ready? If you want to look at archaeologists and see them argue, ask them where they crossed the Red Sea. Because they go from here to here to here to here to here to over here to here. Take your pick. It makes no difference to me. They crossed the Red Sea. They drowned the Egyptians. I got it. Okay? It doesn't mean anything to me where they crossed it. It's just they crossed it. That's where I am with this. Okay? They crossed the Red Sea, moved down, and you know the story. Go with everything from hunger to thirst to all kinds of stuff. Go all the way down to Mount Sinai. That's where 40 days Moses is up on the mountain, thunder, lightning, all that kind of stuff comes down with 10 commandments, and then an entire story to tell on a sacrificial system, and how you're going to do the whole Jewish faith is coming down off that mountain with him. He's talked with God face to face for 40 days straight. He's got it. He's preloaded. Talk about, you know, getting your system preloaded. You don't have to buy any new software. He is ready. They glowing. They have to put a hood over his head. It's because he's like a light bulb. Scared them all to death. Okay, he's just glowing. It's great. You ready? Now they start moving. Wait for rest. So let's go up and take the promised land. Here we go. Back home we go. After 430 years, I think it's just about due. Get up just about up into here. come to a little place called Kadesh Barnea. Last stop before you get right into Israel. Hold up just a minute. Let's get it straight. We're going to send out some spies, get some recon. What are we going to do when we get in there? You ready? Now you had the midlife wonder, now you have the midlife blunder. She's only 2 or 3 months past where she was, still 90-some years old. When I say midlife and 90, it is. She's going to live to be over 130. So you're going to have a midlife type of thing going. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses. Somewhere along the line, Zipporah is dead or in the background somewhere. He's taken on a different wife, a new wife. And it says, because of the Egyptian woman, if you get in the Hebrew, it's Cushite. Cushite, there were 2 of them. One in Midian, which some folks say, well, that was really Zipporah. But I don't think they've blown up at this time. They were blown up way before this. I think this was a new person, okay? He married an Ethiopian or a Cushite woman who is going to be, even though they are very olive-colored folks, it's going to be a darker hue to her skin. But obviously different culture all the way around. So they're mad at that. And he was married to an Ethiopian woman. And so he said, the Lord hath indeed spoke only through Moses. You can hear it. I get dreams and visions too. I'm a prophetess, you know. Hey, hey, hey. Has he not spoken through us as well? You can hear it. Now you're getting the real thing. It's not that wife at all. She's envious. She sees Moses as the leader of the country, and she's not getting the accolades she thinks she deserves. That's my little brother. I got 12 years on top of him. Who's the one that saved his neck anyway? Put him in the basket, sold it to the, got his position and all that kind of. Who's he think he is running this show? I'm part of this crew too, And she's righteous enough. I love it. It's the only time in the scripture you're going to see Miriam in front of Aaron. Because she's the instigator. She's got it going. Aaron's going, on the side. Okay? But she's got this thing going. And the Lord heard it. As if he doesn't hear everything. He heard it. She's right. He heard it. Now that the man Moses was very humble, more humble than any man on the face of the earth. Moses isn't looking for her. That's not his style. He's just not going to do it. He's way beyond that. She's whining and griping because she's envious of Moses' position. Here. You ready? Here's a family come to God. Not come to Jesus. Okay? Come to God meeting. God calls them out. Suddenly the Lord calls Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Come out, you 3. I love that. It's got you all y'all, and you 3. Okay? You do that to your kids. Got a whole family meeting here. God calls them out to the tabernacle. I love it. They come to the tabernacle of whom her grandson has designed. Hot stuff. Okay, this hot stuff, come out here. And so they came out, the Lord came down in a pillar and a cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle. Moses is used to this. She isn't. She's the dreams and visions person. Moses is the one who's, this is like, okay, what do you got, Lord? Here we go. And then he calls out Aaron and Miriam, and them they just go forward. You too. Do you ever feel that? They call out your name over the intercom, so-and-so come to the office. I was way before intercoms. They were still doing Pony Express. They sent out a Sherpa guy to get to our classroom, whatever. So-and-so, you have a date with Destiny down there in the office. Oh dear. Okay, here we go. The 2 of them were pulled out. Then he said, hear my words. If there's a prophet among you, Miss Prophetess, that you're bragging about, I, the Lord, make myself known in a vision and speak to him in a dream. There you are, Miriam.
Miss Prophetess. That's how you get your stuff. But not so with my servant Moses, for I speak with him, Hebrews says, mouth to mouth. Face to face, I speak with him. He is faithful in all my house. And I speak with him face to face, and even plainly, and even with not dark sayings, for he sees the form of the Lord, period. Why were you not afraid when to speak against Moses? Woo! Talk about step back time. Okay? Get in your place. Quick, sweetheart. Ooh. Ready? It's about team. You're a valued member of the team, but you're not everything of the team. The team is the team. I've got various ones doing various things, but it's a team. It's not just you, Miriam. Once you stop looking at me and start looking at him, you're not looking at me anymore. It's not team anymore. You ready? Here it comes. The irony. The anger of the Lord aroused against him, and he departed. And when the cloud departed, suddenly Miriam was leprous and white as snow. She came in whining that his wife was too dark. Now she's too light. She looks down and she's flaking off white, which in the ancient world was a death sentence. It's just a matter of time. Literally, things are going to start falling off of you, honey. Oh my. Oh my. And Aaron turned, and Miriam, his sister, the one that they've looked up to as the strong one all these years, she's a leper. And Aaron said to Moses, I love that. They finally get it right. Moses, O my Lord, please do not lay this sin on us, which we have done such foolish things, which we have sinned. Please do not let her be one as dead as our dead. And so Moses cries out to the Lord, as Moses would. We would go, you get what you get, don't pitch a fit. No. He jumps in both feet. This is my older sister. I love her. She's part not of the team. She's family. Please heal her, oh Lord, I pray. The Lord said to Moses, if her father had spit in her face, okay, that means some really bad thing happened to her family, would she not be shamed for 7 days? So let her be shut out of the camp for 7 days. Afterwards she may be received again. And so Miriam was set out of the camp for 7 days, and the people did not journey until Miriam was brought in again. The idea was she was healed of leprosy. That went away. But the stigma of that, honey, get a hold of yourself. And she did. For 7 days, the whole shebang stopped and stood and looked at her with folded arms going, But then they went, come on. That's tough to do. It's really easy to get to the point of going, That's easy. Because, man, we can look at anybody and find something that we can, to turn around and say, we're all sinners saved by grace. Come on. We're family. I don't care what your color is. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your culture is. As Christians, we say, we love you in Jesus' name. Come on. We love you. And it's a heartfelt love. Come on back. Ready? You know the story. They send out 12 spies. 12 spies come back. 10 said no, 2 said yes. Joshua and Caleb. Those 2 were the only ones who were going to get to go in the promised land. For 40 years, they wander around this peninsula, all over. I mean, back and forth, for 40 years, letting an entire generation die off. Of which, they come back to Kadesh Barnea again, the same place. In Numbers chapter 20, and the children of Israel and the congregation came to the wilderness of Zin, and the people stayed in Kadesh Barnea. Here we are, back again after 40 years of wandering around the desert, and Miriam died there, and she was buried there. Jerome says it's right in front of where you go and visit with in Petra, in Jordan today. That's where her burial site is. What I love about this is the legacy. She ran through that whole thing 40 years, stayed faithful to the Lord for 40 more years than 130 years old in Micah chapter 6 when they're discussing the history of Israel. Here it comes. God says, I brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the house of bondage, and I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, the girl maid. Right there level with Moses and Aaron. She was there. What a family. Can you imagine Jochebed? Can you imagine having a family that you can look at that the three of them are going to almost triple-handedly save Israel out of the mouth of defeat and put them into the land of victory? 3 out of 1 family, and there she is at the end in the legacy. Where will we be in our legacy? When they talk about our families, earthly family and godly family, where will you be? Where will I be? That we can control. A lot of stuff we can't. The legacy, we can work on that. Let's stand as we pray. Lord God, we ask you right now to help us from an unsung